So all of us, our job is to make sure you have the right placing. Be placed exactly where your physique is on that day. It doesn't matter what you look like the week before. It doesn't matter what the week after.
Whatever you look like on Instagram.
That day. Yeah, like your bathroom on Instagram, you might look like Mr. Olympia. But when you get to stage, we can only judge what we see right there. And it's so important because we don't want people to leave feeling like they were robbed.
Boom! Extra special guest here, and we're not fighting. Anyway, welcome. Jerry Ward is our special guest. As you guys know, Jerry, you are an IFBB judge.
IFBB judge. NPC, IFBB, yes.
So we're here, and we're actually here for his brand. Now, this is how I got it. I've taken this since Thursday. And the first time I took it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm just having a good day. You know, I got laid or whatever by my wife. Okay, not by some random stranger. And not by Jerry. He wasn't here yet. And I had a really good day the next day. And I'm like, I kept taking it. And I've just been in such a happy mood. And I'm not freaking out at things. Like, I'll go to soccer games for my kids. And sometimes the other team's parents will talk. And I'm like, I don't do anything.
Edge you, right? You're on edge all the time.
But I mean, ever since I started taking this, Delpro, right?
Delpro, yeah.
So this has been awesome. Now, can you tell us about it real quick?
So Delpro was actually something that I came up with, interesting enough, because I was taking CBD for my own personal anxiety. I was born with anxiety. I've struggled with it my whole life. And CBD worked really great. But the thing was, it was like $100 and something a month. So clients and stuff of mine were like, listen, I really don't want to spend $100 and something. It works really well. But really there's no other alternative. So I'm like, well, I don't really know, anything that works like CBD. And I really didn't at the time. And I went through some notes of one of my old mentors, and he had a product called DLPA in there. Now, DLPA, I was like, back in the day, I didn't pay attention to it because I was like, does it make me bigger? No. Then I'm like, right? Is it going to put muscle on me? No. Is it going to make me short?
Then you need the T2G, right?
T2G. So I just kind of blew it off back then. But he was really into like homeopathy, naturopathy. His wife was a naturopath. He had actually been through med school. It was actually pretty cool. So the more that I looked into the DLPA, the more I realized that the way it works is it allows your body to use endorphins properly. So when you're under large amounts of stress for long periods of time, your body chews up those endorphins and never really gets a chance to build back up. So it can cause anxiety and depression. So I'm looking at it going, well, that could be one reason why people, are anxious or have depression, because everybody's stressed out nowadays, right? I mean, everybody's stressed all the time. So I looked into it. I started taking the DLPA and I started feeling better. And then I started thinking about a product that many of us have taken for sleep called GABA. Mm-hmm. We take it at night and it knocks you out. Well, have you ever noticed before you go to sleep at night, you feel good?
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, it's almost like a natural kind of like, it keeps you kind of like in a relaxed state. I said, well, what if we could find the right amount of GABA to mix with it that wouldn't knock you out, but would give you a similar feeling? Would there be like a synergistic effect? So I dove into that, trying to figure out if there's any interactions or anything like that. I couldn't find any anywhere. And I asked manufacturing to make up the first batch. And when I went on it, interesting enough, it's funny because I have, of course, an edgy personality. I have anxiety.
That's why we fought in the past. We both have that. Now we're friends. It made us friends.
Sometimes your anxiety gets the best of you. It really does. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it sometimes if it's, a clinical anxiety. And my food wasn't getting delivered that day, right? Because it was a holiday, so the box didn't come. And my wife was like, hey, your food didn't come. I'm like, all right, I'll call him in the morning. And she was like, she just kind of looked at me like, you're not mad? I'm like, I got to go to the grocery store now, but yeah, I guess I got time. And she was like, who the fuck are you? She was shocked. And when I told her, she was like, are you doubling the CBD dose? And I was like, no. I'm like, I started taking the stuff that I made at manufacturing. So she asked me, she's like, can I start taking it? Because she's a CVR nurse. She does open heart surgery, lung transplants, heart transplants. So she started taking it. Her coworkers started taking it. And we started to see this even keel across the board. Like, you were very even. Like, medications that I took in the past, they made me to where I couldn't get happy or sad. I was just always level and just felt like a zombie. So I didn't use those medications. I just thought it was, they weren't for me. So now I notice, like, if I get upset, I come right back down to baseline quick. Like, you literally are like, and then you kind of calm down real quick. And then when you do get mad, it's not as high. So the more research that I did on this, I found out there was tons and tons of research done on DLPA, not added with GABA. That seemed to be the 1-2 punch that worked out really well with Delpro. But there was tons of data that people actually got off of their medications for anxiety and depression by using the DLPA in clinical trials. So once I started reading more and more about that and got on the product, I noticed like my anxiety was, I don't want to say gone, because you could still go up or down, but it keeps you to where it takes the edge off and just leaves you able to go through your life. Like you said, you just feel better. You don't have like that pit in your solar plexus all the time.
It's a simple product, but at the end of the day, man, I recommend you take this. I'm gonna link it down below. just, I'm again, like, you know me, I'm like, I don't talk about brands that aren't mine, right? This is different. This is something you should at least try, especially if you're like us. Now, on to the video. So, politics and bodybuilding. That's what I want to talk about today. Politics and bodybuilding. Now, I'm from the age when I think there was politics involved, and I don't think it was from the top down. I think you just had some regional players. But I will say this, and I've said this in multiple videos in the past 2 months. I don't think politics in bodybuilding exist. And the one thing I point to is the Mr. Olympia. Everybody loves Brandon Curry. If there was politics in bodybuilding, it would have been Brandon 1, Rami 2. But there aren't, because Rami brought an unbeatable package to the stage.
There was no way of justifying him not winning the Olympics.
No, but politics back in the day, you could have said, that was that. And I've seen some regional shows in the 90s and 2000s that you could probably, not lately. Now, Jerry, as a judge, what do you say to people who go, it's all political? All this bodybuilding stuff, why even compete? It's political.
Well, I can only speak from the aspect of the NPC and the IFBB. I don't know what happens in other feds.
Oh, yeah, screw those feds.
I have no idea. But
we don't like them anyway.
For us, it's very, the way that judging works is you have 7 or 5 judges. And they drop the high and the low score, so it's always an uneven number. What's interesting enough is sometimes there are tie scores. So, sometimes you can get a little hairy and you have to wind up looking for like, all right, this guy, where his trunks dig in, because the physiques are so similar and, you're having a hard time figuring out who's going to win on stage. But in general, when you come on stage in the NPC and the IFBB, you are so well trained that when they walk on stage, you know who wins and who doesn't right when they walk on stage. You could pretty much pick out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you would put them through the mandatories. But regardless, one judge cannot make a person win.
No.
So if you have 7 scores, if one judge puts somebody in first place and everybody else has them in third, guess what? They're going in third. Like you can't, I think people are under the impression that like, well, that's his trainer and that's why he won. Well, that trainer can't make him win. Right? And that trainer can't go to all the rest of the judges and be like, hey, guys, make him win. Not all the judges are necessarily friends. They don't really know each other. We come from all over the different places. And yes, we've judged before, but we don't like hang out. We don't really know each other. So it's not one of those things where we're like, hey, I know his team and I'm going to help him out or something like that. It wouldn't happen. And if something like that ever did happen, in the NPC, those judges would be gone so fast that it wouldn't be an issue. Like it would be one of those things where you're like, well, never see him again, ever again. But I mean, realistically, as a judge, you always have to be able to justify why you place somebody where you place them. Meaning, like, if they say, okay, listen, Jerry, this looks way off. This guy was in 5th place, but you had him in 1st. Why did you have him in 1st? And I would have to take the pictures of the show, and I would have to justify why I put him in 1st place instead of 5th where everybody else put him. And if you can't justify that, then you shouldn't be judging. So that's kind of where we're at. Everybody is trained. Everybody, it's different now than it was in the past. There are a lot of former competitors now that are, like myself, like once you retire from bodybuilding, you're like, well, what am I going to do? I still want to stay involved in the sport.
It's like ESPN, you become a sportscaster.
That's exactly what it was.
Or you become a judge. Exactly. But, I mean, I've been involved I've promoted shows, I've been involved in the back end of shows, I've sponsored shows, and I've competed in shows. And at the end of the day, you got, for example, our chairman here, Alan Sizemore. He's the greatest guy in the world. And Bino, who promotes the Knox Classic. These guys, if they found out that there was any shady stuff going on at their show, for example, after the show, I'm joking around with Alan about the scores, the show that I won, and he's like, I kind of had you losing. I'm like, you bastard. It's like, so the thing is, you got judges who not only they can disconnect, but Alan didn't judge his own show, obviously. Yeah. He didn't vote in that show. But at the end of the day, they want the right person to win. They're objective. And the last thing they want is to get a reputation as a show that plays favorites or that only rewards it. Because at the end of the day, what is bodybuilding? It's a business. And as soon as people know or think that your business is going to mandate certain people win, then people stop doing it. Yeah. And money stops going. Look, man, I only did 2 classes, $250 a class. I spent $500 to compete at North Americans. I spent it. I didn't get paid that. And in addition to travel and tan and this and trunks and whatever it is, right? Food and all the other stuff that goes into it, right?
And also, now being a lot of the judges are former competitors, we know what it's like to be on stage. We know what goes into it. We know how they feel on stage. We know what a bad call could mean to that person. meaning like when that person gets the pictures and they clearly know that they won and a bad call happens, that's something that stings and can end careers. Matt Mendenhall comes to mind.
Yeah.
Who just recently passed away. So all of us, our job is to make sure you have the right placing. Be placed exactly where your physique is on that day. It doesn't matter what you look like the week before. It doesn't matter what the week after.
Whatever you look like on Instagram.
That day. Yeah, like your bathroom and Instagram, you might look like Mr. Olympia. But when you get to stage, we can only judge what we see right there. And it's so important because we don't want people to leave feeling like they were robbed, feeling that they didn't get the placing they deserve with all the hard work they put in, because we were them at one point. And I think that makes a big difference.
You know what? I have to bring up this story, even though he's a great guy. Remember who was called the parking lot Mr. Olympia?
Dennis James.
Dennis James every year would post from Gold's Gym's parking lot. And at that time, I lived
in a straight tank top.
I trained at Venice, and this dude would look bigger than Ronnie, leaner, and then he'd get on stage, he'd play eight. So it doesn't matter. Like going into the show, people look at my, I don't know how you lost. Well, I lost because when you put me next to guys who didn't take 8 years off of bodybuilding and were thicker, bigger, and put more time into prep. I'll win a regional show, but you go up against national guys. Yeah, that's a reality check, And that's why people are like, are you mad at the judging? I'm like, no, I picked myself for third. I fucking have eyes. I saw the video. I'm like, yeah, when we were standing relaxed backstage, I will say that there was a difference in midsection development, if that's a political grip, that I could have been like, oh, but when they held their poses, not counting transitions, it's hard to judge.
It's about what's on stage.
When they held their poses, I lost. I fucking lost. And I'm good with that. But the judging was fair. Everybody wants to be mad at judges. Man, you got screwed. I'm like, no, I didn't get screwed because I didn't have a sex drive because my wife didn't want to have sex with me anyway. I was too lean. And my hip bones were digging into her thighs. And she just had breast explant. And it's just weird when you can't play with boobies. You ever not play with boobies during sex? You know how fucking weird that is, Jerry?
Well, it's hard not to play with boobies in the house general, right? Just in general.
So she literally had her nipples taken off and sewn back on. I can't touch these things for like 6 months. Like, I don't know where do you put your hands? You just got to grab butt. Like, I'm like, ugh. And I'm like,
grab her by the face. I don't think they like being grabbed by the face.
Yeah.
I don't know,
palming. I'm like, don't take your shirt off. It's just weird. Like, you can't grab them. I just want to pretend they're not there. But what the hell are we talking about? Oh, competing.
Yeah,
so my whole thing is, as someone, I look at the stage, I even talked like Al, it was very close when I lost my class as a heavyweight at the stage show. I only prepped for 4 days. The guy was bigger than me, he outweighed me by 25 pounds. And then I came in and I went the knocks. I happened to be competitive and lean and shredded, which was good enough for a regional show. But then you go to that next level. So there's levels to this.
But that also wasn't a national show. That was the biggest North Americans of all time.
Yeah.
With some of the best quality that we've ever
guys,
had, period.
The two guys who beat me. Like, I fucking lost. Like, it is what it is. I brought the best package I could. I wasn't mad at myself. But give me a year. But you know what? For me, I was the happiest third place winner ever. But here's the thing. Alan Sizemore starts out every show he does. I've listened because I sponsor the shows and I hand out bars. I have tables. I sponsor all the local shows because I fucking love bodybuilding. Alan has the same story. He's like, there's only going to be one happy person on stage. Everybody else is pissed. Except there was a guy who placed 5th at the stage show who probably out of like 6 or 7 people who was really happy that he got a trophy.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
there's that guy. But everybody else, like the 6th place guy, the guy who lost to him, was mad that he didn't want to. He's like, I don't know what the judges were looking for. I'm like, I don't know what your mirror is telling you, bro. But like, you and I both lost today.
It's hard because you wind up getting skewed looking at yourself, right? You don't see yourself objectively because you're emotionally attached to what's going on.
I'm not.
So you need that external eye. Like I would always have somebody look at me and, at our shop, the gym in Virginia, I'm that eye for the competitors. Like we're constantly checking competitors and, 10 weeks out, 8 weeks out, 5 weeks out, trying to guide them and say, okay, do this, do that, whatever, just so that they have an idea of, what they really look like. Because like you said, they get in their bathrooms and they take some selfies and stuff and they put them on Instagram and, their friends and family, they don't really know enough about it. So they're like, oh, you look great. You're going to win. You're going to win. You're going to win. Then they get there and all of a sudden there's these 10 other guys that are amazing. And they don't win, and they're like, well, it must be the judges. It's not something I did, etc. But realistically, and don't get me wrong, I went through that one as a competitor too.
We all do.
There are people that beat me that I was like, how did that happen? And I would ask the judges, and they would be like, well, X, Y, Z, and I didn't understand. But being a judge sitting at the table is completely different. And I definitely want to touch on this because I think this is probably the most important part. So as a judge, when you're sitting like 8 feet away from those competitors, right, you're seeing them up close with all this detail. Now, if you go 5 rows back, let's say somebody's on stage and they're shredded. I mean, they're fucking peeled, right? When you go 5 rows back, they're less peeled.
Yes.
Right? When you go 5 rows back more, they're even less peeled.
And then you get a picture with the lighting skewed.
And now, here's what's even the most fucked up part about it is you can have somebody on stage that's fat, and when you go 5 rows back, they're less fat. And you go 5 more rows back. So when you get to like 20 rows back, they almost fucking even out on stage from 20 rows back. They don't look that much different.
You're so right. Jesus,
but when you get right up against it, so that's when people are like,
yes.
oh, I don't understand. It's like, dude, the cameras can't pick up what's up close. And when you look at those pictures, yes, you can be like, well, it's a lot closer than we thought because of these pictures.
You can't see graininess.
I never knew that until I sat at the table and looked up and then saw pictures afterwards of the same athletes. And I'm like, they weren't that close together. I was right there. That's when it clicked. I'm like, wait a minute, these judges are seeing something. And don't forget, like as you go further back, usually the auditorium starts to go up a little bit, like on a slant. Well, the judges are at your feet. Their eyes are at your feet looking up. So when you hit the poses, the judges see something very different than what you see 5 rows back, 10 rows back, even, you know, like, even like 5 rows back right there. So the judges are here. There's a row of seats right behind the judges. Just from that little bit, that vision changes of what they look like. It's insane.
It's true. It's true. And I want to, so for me, what I do now is I have a group of people who will tell me I suck. Jose Raymond, he's one guy. Jose's coming here in 2 weeks.
Is he?
Jose's good. Yeah, I'll send my stuff to him. Bartley Weaver, Dreamweaver, I send my stuff to him. So obviously Courtney, who coaches me, but Courtney's not going to bullshit me. You know, you got to have people who don't like you. I'm not saying these guys don't like me, but they're not going to, like, I'm not going to have one of my employees who I pay be like, hey, how do I look? Boss, you look good. Just don't fire me. You know, that's fucking retarded. And you don't have your family. Like, my wife will pick me apart.
Yeah.
But she just doesn't have a bodybuilding eye. So she's like, you look good. She's like, you eat something? Like, you look fucking sick. But I think that's the thing, is that a lot of us get in our head that there's some big fucking conspiracy theory that these judges are getting, oh, I'm sorry, this video is going to be 40 minutes. Youth soccer. Youth fucking soccer, right? I had a parent on our team. We're getting our ass kicked 4-0. This team is fucking amazing, right? So it's my 8-year-old's team. He's fucking 8. Who fucking cares about the score? He's fucking 8. He's going to forget the game by fucking dinner time. So, and he did. He did. He was like, can I have fucking ice cream? You know, he didn't say fuck. Yeah, he's my kid. He said fucking. And the parent's like, I want to know how much you paid the ref. We'll equal. And I'm like, do you really think someone's paying off a fucking U9 ref? You dumb bitch. I'm like, thank God I had this product. I would have choked her.
Delpro, saving lives on the soccer field.
Just saving me from a domestic. But this video was the one we started with because it's so important to get out there. Because, look, back in the 90s, there were some fringe shit. Like, maybe not in the NPC, I don't know. But there appeared to be some things, and I've had it confirmed nor denied, that there were some bad apples. But right now, dude, check it out. Tyler Mannion, Jim Mannion, the people involved, Weinberger, they have literally taken this and made bodybuilding the most, I say this with the biggest fucking serious face. It is the most ethical and morally judged of any subjective or objective sport.
Well, one aspect, look at it like this. We have all these new divisions, right? Those new divisions are created to be fair because people didn't have the genetics. Like if you have, which is now the wellness look, so you did gymnastics when you were a kid, you did soccer, you did field hockey when you built up your legs, like you don't fit in bikini. So all of a sudden these women were like, well, I can't compete. Well, it's not fair because my legs are too big. I can't compete. They made a new division. Right, with the guys were that they didn't like the stomachs, right? They didn't want to have the big stomachs or carry all the mass. They came out with classic physique. They try to make it as fair as they possibly can. In classic physique, we have a height and weight now that you have to make. It's not just weight. So they try as best they can to make it fair. And of course, there's always going to be somebody that is going to be upset because technically, you know, they don't fit or whatever the case may be, or they don't, you know, they're not good set for this class. Or sometimes they honestly, to be totally honest with you, they shouldn't even be on stage. You know, they don't have any physique whatsoever. You know, like, but they come in and it's one of those things where, you know, anybody can give it a shot. I mean, you know, give it a try. But there's definitely a lot more now, I think, than before that they try to make sure things are as fair as possible and make sure that they get it right every single time.
Bodybuilding, more than anything, or physique sports are the most genetically based sport there is. Like, you can overcome genetics, and I've done it. I coach youth sports. You can overcome genetics in wrestling, in football. I did it in football myself. Baseball, not as much. Basketball, height's a big role, right? But in bodybuilding, if your fucking body parts are fucking weird, and if you have weird joint structure and you have a wide waist, if you have a wide waist, you're not going to be Mr. Physique Olympia. Now, I'm not saying you can't win a regional show.
Right.
Not saying you can't do like me and wait till you get old and compete against old guys and win. But
some of these old guys, though,
I know I lost. I mean, Jesus.
You think, wow, 35. I used to think 35. These guys are old.
No, 35.
And then I did a couple 35 classes, and I was like, man. They're good. And then 40, you figure, or 40, 45. We got guys that are 70 years old, Masters Nationals. That's great. That, except for their hair, they look like they're 35.
It's the
like,
fountain
if you dyed their hair, they would literally look like they're 35. Nobody believe it.
Weightlifting's the fountain of youth. Like, I'm actually 70. So that's what I wanted to get across. This is the most important video I wanted to do because, right now, I've spent I told Jerry this last night, I've spent the last 2.5 years building consumer goods. I've been out meeting with fucking grocery stores and this and that. And now I'm fully in. I want to build the sport of bodybuilding. I want to be the best representative of bodybuilding because bodybuilding is one of the main reasons that I'm sitting in this gorgeous house right now. Bodybuilding's been really good to me, and bodybuilding gave me the launching pad through Muscle and Fitness Flex, Men's Fitness, and Muscle and Fitness Hers magazine, where I started my career. Flex and Muscle and Fitness being my main 2 publications. If it wasn't for bodybuilding, I would not have the cool shit I have. I would not be able to do the shit I do. So right now I'm 40, I found God, all that awesome stuff. Now it's time to give back, and it's time to build this sport better than ever. And again, I've had my days where I've talked my shit and I've said my sorries. I've done the fucking Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step program.
The sorry tour or the I'm sorry tour?
It's the I'm sorry tour.
The I'm sorry tour.
And I'm like, most people are like, no, it's not that. No, it's completely that. Like, I had a decade I can get rid of, right? So anyway, so on that note, Jerry, where can they find you?
BioStraining@gmail.com. All my social media, Jerry Ward, Jerry Ward II. Just type in Jerry Ward, it'll pop up.
It'll pop up. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to follow Jerry. And if you have a chance, I want you to do this. I want you to find an NPC show locally. I want you to go there and experience it. And I want you to visit the sponsors. I want you to find and talk to the promoter because you'll learn a lot about how awesome this sport is. And yes, I called it a sport. It's more of a pageant, but it can double as a sport. I'm going to call it a sport because it's fucking hard to do. Anyway, Jerry, thanks so much for being here. Be sure to follow Jerry. And try this.
Delpro.
If you don't try it, you're missing out. Like, trust me. All right, guys, that's not a game. We're out.
What's up, Tiger Fitness crew? Jerry Ward here from GIFT Labs, and we're here today with, of course, Marc Lobliner to tell you guys about Delpro. So Delpro is an anti-anxiety product that I created because myself, I was born with anxiety, and I've lived with it my whole life. And I was always looking for something to take off that edge, so it just made my day a little bit better, and I could just stay calmer. And CBD worked really well for a while. Very expensive price tag. I knew there had to be a better option. That's where Delpro came in. So when I created Delpro, there are tons of different studies and information out there, which you guys can check yourself. An amazing product that helps you stay level. You can still get excited, you can still get upset, but it brings you back down to baseline very quick. And it also helps you just have an overall better sense of well-being throughout the entire day. So if you guys are looking for an anti-anxiety product, a well-being product, Delpro is the product for you guys.
And I take it myself. I love it.
And I've been taking it, of course. So,
Of course.